So when it comes to creating map animations, Vox is the gold standard. Now, if you've ever watched their Vox Atlas series, the motion graphics for the maps are just incredible. They're always so visually impressive. So if you haven't already seen that stuff, be sure to go over to the Vox channel, subscribe, go check them out. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be trying to emulate that style. More specifically, I'm going to be creating this World War II map. This is the Liberation of Paris. Now, this is not historically accurate, so let's not focus too much on that. I'm just focusing on the elements and how we can try to recreate this using both Google Earth Studio and Adobe After Effects. Now, if you'd like to follow along with this tutorial, all of the elements I'm using in here are available for free download, and there's really a lot of cool assets here. So for the first step, I need to create my base map animation, and I'm going to do that using Google Earth Studio. Now, this is a really cool browser-based animation tool that allows me to animate Google Earth and then export it with 3D data, which I can then bring into Adobe After Effects. And they really custom built this to work with After Effects, so it's really, really cool. To use it, simply go to earth.google.com/studio. So first thing I want to do is name the project. We'll call this Vox World War II map. So I'm doing this little Liberation of Paris. And I want to set this to Ultra HD, 3840 by 2160. I'm going to switch the frames to timecode. And I'm going to set the duration to 20 seconds. And now I'm going to click start. Now, as long as you know how to use After Effects, you're going to have no issue here because they designed the interface here to look kind of exactly like After Effects. It's got the keyframe editor down here with attributes, and you also have speed and value graphs. You can add different attributes here and really make the customization options go pretty wild. And if you've ever used Google Earth, it's the same kind of deal. You can move the Earth around just by clicking and dragging. You can zoom in. So it's really cool if you're unaware of it. The first time using it, it's pretty fun. So I'm gonna go and search the location. I'm gonna type in Paris, and that'll take the map straight there. And now I'm gonna use this altitude attribute to zoom way in. And I want my animation to start, somewhere around here. Let's bring it pretty close here. As you saw in the animation, it's gonna kind of stay paused here with that main title, and then at the 2-second mark, it's gonna zoom out. So I'm gonna add some keyframes here for altitude, longitude, and latitude. And it's a slow zoom that goes on for about 4 seconds. So let me just go ahead and move the altitude parameter and zoom it out to the position I like here. And then that's gonna hold for about 4 seconds. So adding another keyframe at the 10-second mark. And then starting at 10 seconds, we're gonna have a nice long, slow zoom out. So I'm gonna move my playhead to that and we'll zoom out a little bit more. For that as well, I'm gonna add a little camera pan starting at that second zoom out. So right down here, I have the pan options. I'm gonna grab this and add a keyframe. Then I'm gonna go over here and let's just make that last the entire time here. There we go. And now to smooth things out, I need to add my easy ease. So simply right click here, ease out. This is gonna ease in, ease out, ease in. And once again, if I right click, I can show the speed graph. And then if I click on the altitude parameters, now I can tweak how I want these to move. So we'll make the animation look a little smoother. There we go. Okay, very cool. I'm gonna right click, switch back to show keyframe editor. Now what I need to do is I need to add some track points so that when I export this map along with the 3D data, I'll have some track points where I can attach various elements to. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to view here, guides, safe margins, and now I have that center point. So I'm gonna go straight to the center here and I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna set track point. And now it brings up this map here. It's a cool, another way to look at the animation here. And I also have the track points panel. If I open this up, it's showing me the specific parameters of this track point, which is all fine and dandy. And I only need one track point for this. And now everything's ready to go. I'm gonna click on this render button. And over here, it's giving me a preview. It has the watermark, which I can't remove, by the way. I need to apply this attribution. But if I go to advanced right now, you're going to see a 3D tracking section. If I drop down this menu, I have these two options, the After Effects script file as well as a JSON file. So I want to do the After Effects script. And I'm going to leave everything else set as is, and I'm going to go ahead and start this render. And once again, this is going to render out as an image sequence. You can see here it's rendering it out frame by frame, and this will be a total of 600 frames. Okay, so for some reason I could not render out the Ultra HD version. It kept getting hung up, and I think it's due to the fact that my internet's a little too slow right now. So I went ahead and did 1920 by 1080. But once you render out, here's what you come out with. You have a zip file which contains all of the image sequence here in this footage folder. I have all 600 frames. I have my script file for After Effects, and I have the Earth Studio project file. So I'm gonna go ahead and move these. All right, so now I'm gonna go into After Effects, and I'm gonna go to File, Scripts, Run Script File, and here's the script file. And as soon as I click on that script file, it's gonna automatically create my comp, and let's see what we got going on here. So it brought in the 3D data, it has a camera set up, and if I open this up, you can see all the keyframes here for that, so I'm gonna keep that locked off. It's added the image sequence here, and you can see my animation is going just fine. And it's also added this track point here, which is a null object, and it has the text, which is parented to that null object track point. So I don't need this text, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. But that's pretty cool that that automatically brings that in. If I want to use that, it's there and available. All right, so now I want to start compositing some other elements that I've created. But to do this, I first want to, make my project a little neat. So I'm going to come to these parts where I have my animations, and I'm just going to put some markers on here, kind of as a reference. So I know that we have that slow zoom out from 2 seconds to 6 seconds. Then at 10 seconds, we have that longer zoom out. So I'm going to just put these markers on here. Let's see where it stops here. Okay, if I go up to my comps folder here, I have a flags comp, and I have this Paris, France title graphic comp. So if I open up the title here, this is a really basic title with a little box and the text animating on, has the date and the name of the city. So all I'm going to do for this one is simply drag it, drop it over the top here, and I'm not really going to attach it or do any tracking or anything like that. Looks perfectly fine. When the camera starts to zoom out, the text element animates out. So this is looking good. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this one off. And now for my flags comp, let's open this up and see what we got here. So I have two flags here. I have the Nazi Germany flag on the top layer and the US flag underneath that. So I'm going to bring this comp in. And as you saw in the animation before, this one's going to slowly animate onto the map as the map zooms out. So I'm going to lower the opacity here, see what we got going on, just so I can reference the map. So I want the flag to kind of animate on here, and I want it to be attached to the map. So as the map moves, I want it to, stick to the map, and I'm going to blend it in. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to hit this toggle switches and modes button, and then I'm going to turn this to a 3D layer. And as soon as I turn it to a 3D layer, it gets lost. And that's because in this Google Earth Studio project, when you export this from Google Earth Studios, it's essentially converting geographic 3D data to those Cartesian coordinates, and it puts your numbers in like the millions. So it's real easy to lose elements, and it's almost impossible to move them around if you don't know what you're doing. So there's a couple things you have to know to do inside of After Effects to make these elements work and to be able to even see them. So the first thing is you switch it to 3D, and then I'm going to parent this to the track point layer, this null object here. Okay, now I'm going to open this back up for the transform properties, and to be able to see this element, get it where I want it, I'm going to have to zero it out. So I'm going to zero out the position and the orientation. So just going to add zeros here. Now I can see it, but the orientation's still off, so I'm going to zero out the orientation, and now it's right where that track point was. Now I'm just going to scale this up. If I zoom out here and I scrub along the timeline, now you're going to see as the map moves, the flag is moving with it. So those two are attached now. Now I can start to work on the blending of this. So for the blending, I'm going to grab the comp here. I'm going to grab my pen tool, and now I'm going to mask this out. So I'm just going to do a real basic mask, something just on the inner edges here. And now I'm going to hit the F key to bring up the mask feather, and let's feather it out like maybe 400 pixels. And let's see how this looks. Okay. I'm going to bring the opacity back up. Let's bring the opacity to 40. I'm going to toggle the switches again, and I'm going to set the blend mode to overlay. Okay, that's blending a lot better with the map here. Okay. Now what I want it to do is I want this to animate on. So I don't want the flag to show up right here. I want it to animate as soon as the zoom starts. That's why I put these markers on the comp, so I have a reference here. So I'm going to go open up the comp again, and I'm just going to open up the mask element, and I'm going to put a keyframe on mask expansion, and that's our end. So we want to put the end keyframe here, kind of when the zoom ends, maybe a little bit after it. And for expansion, I'm just going to bring it down. We'll probably need to bring it down by like 400, negative 400. And I might even want to do a little opacity animation as well, because I don't know if this is still going to show up. There it is. So let's have it go 0 to 40, just in case. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. It's kind of dissolving on there slowly. So the next step I want to do is show the liberation of the city by dissolving from this flag to the flag underneath. So the way we can do that is I'm going to open up the flags comp, and I'm going to do this with just a real easy mask animation. So I'm going to go back to the main comp actually, and we want that to start, we want it to start right about here at the 7-second mark. So I'm going to move my playhead there, and then when I open up the flags comp, the playhead is pretty much in the same location. I'm going to add a quick marker that'll help me give me a reference to where I want to, do this animation here. I'm going to add a quick mask. I'm going to grab the top flag here, and I'm just going to add a simple mask. And now I'm going to open up the mask. I'm going to add a keyframe for the path, and then I'm going to go to maybe 16 seconds where that zoom out ends. And I'm going to grab this and simply, move it over. Actually, I can grab the whole thing here. Let's just do that. And now we have this here. Maybe move it back just a little bit. And then halfway maybe change this so that it's kind of staggered here. Something like that. And I'm also going to bump up the feather quite a bit. Let's do 400 pixels. Okay, now that's looking good. Now, one other thing I want to composite in here is if you have ever watched a lot of the Vox series, sometimes they'll do little explosions. And I've downloaded some explosions here, these elements. You can get these from Premiumbeat. These are free. I'll leave a link in the video description. And I was playing around with some of these, and I actually think one of them is the same exact one that Vox might be using. So I have some shockwave elements, and I have some explosion elements, and a few of these are from top view, which is perfect for this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a quick comp here that we could quickly duplicate and add a couple explosions. And I want these explosions to be, maybe taking place right here. Just makes it a little more dynamic and not historically accurate. I'm going to bring my playhead back to the beginning. First, I want to grab the shockwave top view. I'm just going to drag and drop it over here. And if I play that, you can see here's the shockwave. And there is also a explosion large top view. I'm going to drag that over. And okay, that's looking good. So I'm going to grab both of these now, both of these layers, right click, pre-compose. We'll call it explosion. And then I'm going to change the color just for reference, change it to red. Okay, so now I have an explosion here. Now I'm going to time it to right here so that it kind of starts maybe right around here. Right when that flag starts to come in. Okay, but it's not attached to the map. So to attach it to the map, I'm going to do the same exact thing I did with the flags comp, which is turn on the 3D. I'm actually going to lock the flags comp so I don't accidentally grab it. So activated 3D, I'm going to parent it to the track point, and then I'm going to zero it out. So I'm going to open the transform properties. I'm going to zero out the position. Now I can see it. I'm going to zero out the orientation. So now it's flat with the surface of the map. And go ahead, insert all of your flat earth jokes here in the comment sections, please. Okay, so now it's locked right to that track point, I think. So I can just simply grab it and move it, and it's going to stay, moving with this comp here. So, and now that I have that, I can simply duplicate it and, make a couple of different ones, and I can just rotate, and change the scale to give them their own look so that they don't all look exactly the same. Duplicate another one. I'll put this one over here. We'll scale it up. And maybe we'll do like 4. Sure, we could go crazy with this, but, for the sake of brevity, I'll rotate this one around. Okay, now let's see what we got here. Again, not historically accurate at all. I don't even know if Paris was actually bombed. I don't think it was. So, yeah, my wife is chiming in here. It was bombed? Yes. And also, the French resistance had a lot to do with liberating Paris. I'm sure my wife has given me the stink eye because she's French, but that doesn't matter. I'm making the map. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to add some final touches. Well, first, in this explosions pack, there's actually some sound effects. So I'm going to go grab sound effects, and I'm just going to kind of line those up here. I'm going to hit the L key, and I'm going to turn the volume way down, 18. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate these real quick and line them up with their explosion. And then what I can do, just to get those, to get all of the same volume levels real quickly. Now what I can do is just highlight and then click and alt drag, and then that's going to replace those sounds. Just grab a couple of different explosion here, another explosion here. I have no idea what these are going to sound like. Okay, sounds good. Everything's pretty much in place. I just need to add a few final touches to really sell this animation. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to desaturate this map. It's a little too colorful. So I'm going to go to the Effects and Presets panel and grab the Hue Saturation, and I'm going to drop this right over my image sequence clip. And then I'm going to bring this down to -75. So it has, some of those very light greens are still going to pop out. Okay, that's looking much better already. Now I'm going to add an adjustment layer. I'm going to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and I'm going to make sure that this is at the top. And then I'm going to go back to the Effects panel, and I'm going to grab Lumetri Color, drop that on my adjustment layer. I'm going to use this to add a quick vignette. And, I can tweak the settings of this vignette to make it how I want it. And I'm going to also open up Creative, and there's a faded film section here. I'm just going to bump that up to maybe 25. Don't know what it does, but hey, sounds cool. I'm going to go back to my project panel, and this is another set of freebies that I picked up here. If I go to my graphics, I have this film grain, 16mm scratched film grain overlay. This is another freebie from my friends at Premiumbeat. There's actually a pack of 5 freebies, so I'm going to link that in the video description. But this one, it works perfect for this. Now, actually, before I drop it in, I need to right-click on it and click on Interpret Footage, Main. And right down here, there's a loop section. So I need to set this to loop, and I'm going to have it loop, 20 times. Because it's quite short. How long is it? Well, wait, is that 2 minutes? Maybe it is long enough. I don't know. Actually, I think that says 2 minutes because I just looped it. Let me see, undo. Yeah, so the original is 6 seconds. So I'm gonna go ahead and redo that. And now I'm gonna just drag it and drop it over here. Now we can see what it looks like. Now I'm gonna change the mode here, the blend mode. And if you don't see this, just toggle this switches button here, switches and modes. And I'm gonna switch this to overlay. And it's doing quite a big change here. So I'm gonna grab the opacity. I'm gonna bring the opacity way down to like 35. And that should be just enough. Okay, for the last step, I wanna change the frame rate to make this look like older film. So to do that, I'm gonna add another adjustment layer here. And then I'm gonna go to the Effects and Presets panel and look for Posterize Time. I'm gonna drop that on my adjustment layer, and then I'm just going to bring my frame rate down to, let's say, 10 frames per second. Now let's take a look at the final animation. Okay, so there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you did, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can get all the future updates. And I'll see you in the next one.